Hey, BookTube, it's your boy Buck, still driving through Texas. What you have to understand about driving through Texas is you just don't stop, no matter what. You can drive through Texas for the rest of your life and you'll never reach the end of Texas. It's incredible. Today, I'd like to talk to you about Michael Crichton and a book that he wrote in the 90s called Rising Sun. Michael Crichton is a tremendous writer, and in that I mean he's both tremendously talented and 6'9". He has done everything. He is a medical doctor. He is a tenured professor. He is a phenomenal novelist. He's a household name. He is the progenitor of some of the greatest modern IPs. Like, things we're still watching stuff he wrote that's been strongly relevant in pop culture for the past 30, 40 years. He's an outspoken anti-amusement park activist, which makes sense, because like Jurassic Park and Westworld, he can't stand a theme park, but he's 6'9", so what's he gonna do at a theme park? He can't ride anything. I think Michael Crichton might be a Nephilim. He wrote the book Rising Sun as a cautionary tale about globalism, or if not outright globalism, at least the sort of economic interventionism that we see when we outsource trade. And he did so by being very racist toward the Japanese, which at the time he considered to be appropriate because it was the Japanese that were conquering us. And this is a tried and true strategy. It's actually my favorite strategy. It's how I win in Civilization 5. What you do is you buy up as much land. Well, you don't buy. During the ancient eras and medieval, you conquer as much land as you possibly can while devoting every single cent you have toward science, right? So with scientific advancement, you can get to the point where you can generate more money. You can get to the point where you can outpace all of the competing cultures, while at the same time you have this huge swath of land, and so you have proprietary control over all of the strategic and luxury resources in it that you then sell to your competitors at a preposterous markup, which makes them dependent on you because they can't even go to war or keep their people happy without what you provide, while at the same time filling your coffers. So if they decide that you've had it good for too long and they declare war, you can just buy a mercenary army in one turn and annihilate them because your technology is so much better than theirs. It's probably not foolproof. I know there are 8 difficulty settings and it's worked up to the 6th, to King setting, I think it was. But beyond that, I was never able to get it to work. So I'm sure that there are people who have developed more effective strategies than mine. However, Japan didn't need to, because in this book, it demonstrated that they were doing absolutely great with that. They were conquering the world with that. We had become reliant on their technological supremacy. I don't know if that's still going on. I know that they tend to outpace us on robots, but the robots they make are perverted and strange. But the robots we make are perverted and strange too. So we don't rightly know what military application the robots that they're making over there are going to have, because they're obviously not going to tell us. Would you? I wouldn't. Americans? I wouldn't. Oh, dude, you have to turn faster. So, the book is interesting because it's it demonstrates that Michael Crichton is a weeaboo who hates Japan, who hates the Japanese. But he hates the Japanese because he resents that they're right about all of these things. Like, he agrees with the Japanese, and that's why he's sort of a weeb, but he resents himself for agreeing with the Japanese that we're just stupid animals over here. The way Americans do things are so much inferior, are so vastly inferior to the way that the Japanese are handling business, especially. But he even suggests social situations. So the book is a big, cultural comparison as seen through the eyes of this external observer, Michael Crichton, who is then decried as a racist by everyone who read the book. But he wasn't doing it to be racist, necessarily. And you can tell just by the sheer amount of work that went into it, and how he put in that, self-insert, which he named John Connor. He wrote it in 92. There was already a John Connor. He was already a household name. I don't know why he did that. I don't know if he was being cute in some way. I don't know if it was some sort of Da Vinci Code from his Anunnaki stock. I don't know. I know that it's a silly name to attribute to your own character less than 10 years after Terminator came out. Yeah, I was 84. What are you doing? Either way. John Connor is like his little self-insert character that he uses to just, actually, and then talks about how great Japan is every time the narrator, Pete, doesn't know what's going on. And Pete never knows what's going on because he is like the stereotypical doofy American, the white monkey that you hear about, who doesn't really know how to navigate the more convoluted and subtle Japanese social mores that he finds himself in. But the book itself, the story's great. I didn't read it. I listened to it on audiobook, and I've been driving forever. So obviously I didn't have much choice but to listen through it in one sitting. But sometimes if a book's boring, I'll jump around or I'll do something else. And I didn't do that with this. I marathoned it, one side to the other. And it was good. It's real good. He's a hell of a writer. The book itself, fantastic story, very engaging, gritty. Police procedural that reminded me of kind of Sherlock Holmesy, kind of like The Alienist. I don't remember the guy who wrote The Alienist, but where there's that one, not all-knowing, but almost this larger-than-life mentor character that's traveling with the narrator and being like, well, what you failed to consider is elementary. But what's elementary is all of these subtleties about Japanese culture that the dude just doesn't know. And in the course of doing this, in the course of illustrating these subtleties, it paints with a very broad brush the suggestion that all Japanese are like this. And I know that wasn't necessarily his intention, because what Crichton was trying to illustrate was the culture surrounding business practices. Because once again, the book is about... The book is an argument against outsourcing, is what the book is about. The book is about not becoming dependent on external trade, about being independent, about being able to support your own country and not having to rely, because when you rely so heavily on these other countries for their exports, especially if they export things that you also manufacture, then you become dependent. And if you are dependent on another country, they functionally rule you. Like, they become your suzerain. You're a servant, you're a vassal. And that don't sit too well with the American sense of pride in general, and Michael Crichton in particular. It's not like it's a fiction book, but everything that he said in the fiction book was drawn from real life examples. And he cited a number of corporate takeovers and this maneuvering, this chess master maneuvering that happened in the business domain in the 80s and 70s, 80s, and 90s, that was true. So what he's talking about, that's real. Like, he's not just trying to warn us about one day that... I wonder what happens if your rental breaks down. He's not just trying to warn us that one day we gotta watch these foreigners because they think we're stupid gaijin, and one day they're gonna come to collect, which is kind of what we got going on with China right now anyway. Sort of the cultural undercurrent of 2025. They say we've always been at war with East Asia. It's a poignant book right now, especially with all the tariff nonsense we got going on right now. With much of what Donald Trump's campaign was built on. The idea of America becoming self-sufficient again. Of slave wage foreign labor. Stopping the over-reliance on Mexican avocados, because we can grow avocados ourselves. They're not as fast. When you become dependent on what someone else deigns to give you, then they are your master. And that's what the book is cautioning. And Japan was an example, I think, but it wasn't necessarily just about Japan. It was about Japan because Crichton is a weeb who loves Japan, and Japan was uniquely suited to fill that role in 1992 when he wrote the book, because of everything that was going on with Toshiba and how they had cornered the color TV market to the point where the only one that was being made at that time by an American company was Zenith. Now, I don't know what's going on with TVs now, but I can't imagine Japan just fumbled the ball, because that's the other thing. Japan, not renowned for fumbling. Some ghastly statistics interspersed through the book. One was that 17% of crimes in America will be solved. Like, out of the crimes that are reported and investigated by our police, 17% will come to a solution, right? In Japan, it's 99. That's a foregone conclusion. And again, I don't know if this is still true, but it was when it was written. So it's not like a foregone... It's a foregone conclusion that if you do crime in Japan, you will eventually get caught. In terms of a cultural exploration, the book actually paints the Japanese in a very admiring light. But it does so with these stereotypes about how they're very balanced and very socially conscious. And I think it was well done how he showed all of these characters who wound up shuffling themselves off this mortal coil rather than facing the disgrace of their actions. And not all of these characters were Japanese. So it was a good illustration, because he talks about sort of this culturally ingrained samurai seppuku death cult instinct that you see in the Japanese. And you reading it as an American, you're like, wow, that's nuts. And then as the book goes on, you see these Americans who are killing themselves because they got socially exposed, and rather than face the consequences of their actions from that. And then you're like, oh, okay, I kind of get it. I think it's very complex and layered. I think it is actually an anti-racist book disguised as a racist book, which all the best ones are. Like Huck Finn. It's kind of what was going on there, huh? And it is clear to me, if only by effort, not even the content of the book, but how many people he had to tap and how much work he had to put into Rising Sun to make it accurate and as good as it was, that there is no racism in Crichton's heart, or rather, no more than one can expect, because the whole implicit bias test has demonstrated there's racism in all our hearts, including minorities. Like, they're racist against themselves per the bias test. It's just how it goes. Like, we're just kind of screwed up in that way. So naturally Crichton has that. We as humans, obviously, not the whites, but it would the whites too. The whites aren't getting off the hook this time. Crichton, I don't think he's holding a special amount of anti-Japanese bigotry in his heart. I think he's deeply pro-Japanese, but he's also a patriot. He's pro-America, you know? And he doesn't want to see us trip over our dicks and blow ourselves up. He doesn't want to see us continue to trip all over ourselves by taking the easy way out and self-destructing. And I think the reason Japan worked so well as an example of how not to do that is because they are careful. Culturally speaking, there is more of an impetus for them to be careful and forward-thinking, long-thinking than there ever has been for Americans. So it's sort of a parable and deeply layered. He's great. Crichton is great. I love this guy. I'm gonna read more of his books. Sadly, not on this journey because I have no way of getting them onto my phone. But that's enough for right now. Like, follow, subscribe, etc. And I will see you probably real soon, because I'm just gonna be driving through Texas for all eternity. Plenty of time to do these. Okay, love you, bye.